because it used to be way at the back, and be some long nights here.
It had to be,
Carla,
there's an
I
ordinance.
understand.
I know
Carla,
that.
how you doing? You guys had a good movie today.
Were they over?
Yeah, they did fine. The camera set to go live.
Yeah.
I can't believe they sat through a 3.5 hour
7:05 on the
meeting.
dot.
Well, I always give it a minute. I don't know if the, well, I don't know if the computer timed on right or not either. So we'll give it a whirl. All right, let's call this meeting to order. Start out with the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do a roll call. Trustee Howdy Shell.
Present.
Trustee Clark. Trustee Renner excused. Attorney Shoulder will be here. President Lysick here. Clerk Kellner. Trustee Goodman excused. Trustee Khan excused. Trustee Long.
Here.
And department heads Pedersen, Lang, Gaglione, and I'm assuming Fire Chief will be here in a little bit. Start out with public comments. Any public comments? Try and keep them about 2 minutes. If there are no public comments, we'll move along to the department reports. We'll skip over fire department for right now and move on to the library report. Carla.
I think I sent all of you an attachment of the annual report.
Yes, received it. Thank you.
Makes good nighttime reading. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. And I'm real happy with how things went with the library, considering our COVID situation last year. We were down about 30% for visits and library use, but in comparison to the other libraries, we did really well. But that's not, I mean, that was the past. Now I'm looking at what's happening this year, and we're back up to what we were pre-COVID and even more so. So I'm really excited about that.
Excellent.
I think some of that has to do with the fact that we were open a little bit earlier than other libraries. A lot of them are still partially closed due to their size, their communities. We're small and we've been able to handle it. We haven't had any COVID-related issues. Our staff is, those that want the vaccine are pursuing it or have already gotten it. Some have gotten their second shot already. I don't really have anything more to say on that subject. We took last month, it was cold, a lot of people didn't come in for those couple weeks. I attended a lot of webinars. My certification for becoming a director is renewing this September. I have to have 100 continuing ed hours in order to be recertified, and I'm past that already. So I put on here, this is just for you to just peruse. Down there where it says library resources, job seeker links, and unemployment resources. The library system, and I can't take credit for this, I haven't done this, but we are offering to people online through a free library card a lot of links for help, resume help, class help, GED help, adult courses, some professional development, some college entrance, ACT prep, things like that. And also under the job seeker links, we are able to help people that walk in the door link up to workforce development, which I understand now is one of the few ways you can start by getting unemployment. They have a phone number and a website. So not that we do it for them, but we can get them on a computer. And we've done a little bit of that. I was kind of laughed when I saw workforce 50 plus. I didn't know that existed. So that's what we have available with library cards. And our library patrons haven't used much of this, but in the general system, it's been used quite a bit. Also, if you, in your homes or you have relatives, children, grandchildren, if you have books like Dr. Seuss books now, I don't know if you've been reading about that. There's some books that aren't being published anymore because they feel like they have a negative impact on races and culture. If you value those books, keep them. I looked online today. There's 6 books that was written up in the Freeman, 6 Dr. Seuss books from the 50s and 60s that they listed, and the company that has the rights to publish them is not publishing them anymore. So you can't really call them banned, they're just not published. But one of them, I looked up a title on Amazon, is going for $600. On eBay, 5 of them are going for $3,000. So, and I, then just out of curiosity, I looked to see if ours were in, and they're all checked out. So I'm gonna be pretty diligent to try to get them back in. I'm also trying to get copies of these books. I'm on a waiting list now, just because I value the historical part of preserving this. And there's a few, we don't have golden books, I don't know if you remember those as a child. There's some of those that are no longer published, some movies. So as I can, I'm just figuring out which ones they are and trying to make sure that we at least keep them in our collection. So other than that, are there any questions? Okay.
No, very good, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Move on to item 3C, Police Department report. Chief.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
2 fraud, 1 criminal damage, 4 drug-related offenses, 1 intoxicated driver, 1 warrant, which is a parole violation or probation violation, excuse me. 5 adult arrests, 72 traffic stops with 60 citations issued, 1 non-traffic citation, 337 calls for service, 135 business house checks, 4 traffic accidents, 6 calls are responded with EMS. The next 2 pages there are just a summary of some of the incidents. You can take a look at that while I keep going. Assists other agencies, 16 hours and 49 minutes. From the courts, for February, 84 initial appearances for Big Bend Court, 58 were resolved by the letter system that we're using, which is 69%. Village of Waukesha Court, 11 initial appearances, 10 were resolved by letter for 90%. State debt collections are on the bottom there, with total at the very bottom. In my opinion, I think we should keep doing the virtual court. Just open up court when we need to for juveniles and for trials, because the way things are going, we're having better success doing the letter system than we did when we were having people come in. Save us a little time, save us a little effort, no bailiffs to pay, obviously for us or for the village of Waukesha, so I'll save both of us a little bit of money, and we're getting the same effect, if we're not better than having them here.
Agreed.
Questions, comments, concerns? Thanks.
Thank you, Chief. Item 3D, President's report. No report tonight. 3E, Public Works Department report.
Good evening.
Good evening, Eric.
With 3 burials and 3 plot sales. Right-of-way permits are starting to come again. We're working on those. We've been out 6 times this month, or last month, I should say. Snow plowing, 7 times pushing snow back. And when we push the snow back, obviously we've had a significant amount. We try to open up the streets and make things wider. We did a little snow removal on Edgewood at Clark. There was a significant amount of ice and snow there. We had some complaints from the crossing guard, so we took care of that and hauled it out. We took in 44 tons of salt, placed them in the salt shed. Truck 6 had a box ran fail. That was replaced. We finally got our new air compressor installed. Notified the fire department of such and never received any comments back. We have and have had a large issue with ice this year in fire department number 2 on the west side. So when Sadie and Bobby come in, I've been texting them. When we think the conditions are too dangerous, we have a piece up there that was about 8 to 10 inches thick, by about 6 feet back on there, by 20 feet wide. So we just, we let it come down and stuff like that, but we're gonna try next year to try something different. We were able to buy two hoses for the, pressure washer, and I think if we blast that with hot water, we can eliminate that problem for next year. So that's where we are on that. Had a visit from the state of Wisconsin for e-waste. We passed that. I think some of you received the email on it because I questioned her, what she was talking about as far as broken glass. We didn't have that, but she did mention cleaning it up if you did have one. But I think you, Warren, might have got a copy of that, and I wanted to clarify that. Also, we had salt inspection of our salt shed by a subcontractor for Wistop. We passed that. Police chief and clerk complained of, or had an issue with some water coming through. And what we found were the drains up top were frozen and warmed them up, and then the stuff started coming off. So we've hopefully got that under control. We spent a lot of time, we had 3 barriers, but the snow was so thick out there. We spent a significant amount of time trying to get it open so they could have these funerals. So took care of that. Somehow or another, the valves in the garage were closed for the hot water supply. I don't know how that happened, but
Supply?
for supply and demand. It was a complaint of no, I'm assuming that was it, right? No hot water?
Yeah.
So,
We
came
figured
up,
that out. That
We
was,
figured it out.
that was the fire department that trained the night before. They were cleaning cars, and whoever turned off the hot water, actually, that they turned off, or I'm sorry, I take that back. They were cleaning cars, they were also working on the washer, there were issues with their washers, they turned off the valve and they forgot to turn it back on. So once they turned it, the truck came up and figured it out, and we were all set to go.
When you said they were washing cars, they were washing our trucks?
Our trucks and our squads, and not personal cars,
Just validating.
no worries, you know better.
so we did a inspection of the Cajun fill site, and that turned out extremely well. Attended some Friday night meetings at 3:30 for some pre-con stuff that's been going on, and I think tomorrow will be the 3rd or 4th Friday in a row we've done that. And weight limits went on yesterday. They will be on until April 3rd. They can keep them on for 30 days, and we'll see what happens. I know Mother Nature's not done with the white stuff yet. So that's where I'll leave that. I do want to thank all of you for purchase of the loader in my department. It has been a great asset and a great help. I will tell you right now that as of my meeting yesterday with the Waukesha County Public Works Association, there are more than several communities in the area that are purchasing the same plow system that we have, and they're figuring out right now that it's an asset. You know, it's not going to win races, but it's more efficient, does a better job. Obviously, we're quite a ways behind on our salt usage, which is really good. So, just again, for all you that voted for that, thank you. It's been a great asset for my department. Any questions?
Do you know how much time that saves you on a regular plow compared to last year, on average?
I can tell you this, that when we go in, usually when you plow, you go in and plow, you make a swing through, and then you come back and do your cleanup, and that can be another day or something like that. We're able to go in a cul-de-sac now, and I'm able to knock them off between 3 and 5 minutes. And that's all done in one shot. I don't have to bring the machine back and take care of it. For winging areas, and I know we didn't get down your subdivision because it really started to melt, but I know up on Michelle's subdivision, Tony's, it has been phenomenal. We actually take, in Lake Park, we actually take the loader off the road, and I'm driving in the right of way, trying to roll the snow back, because there's been some significant drifting on the southwest corner there, where it's been 4 or 5 feet deep. I mean, the first time I hit it was over the top of a plow. So it's really been nice, but we're able to take that stuff and just push it off. But if you had a truck, you'd be just on the roadway all the time, and then it would become a real issue on what we're gonna do with all the snow. So for my department and stuff like that, it's a great asset. So,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Circling back, item 3A, Fire Department monthly report. Chief, how you doing?
Good, thanks. So we had 17 calls for the month. Members of our department attended the funeral of Assistant Fire Chief Kathy Wagner from Rochester earlier in the month. We're staying on top of all the COVID-related issues and the vaccinations right now. It's been a busy month for our mutual aid. Our tender alone hauled over 73,500 gallons of water this past month to the neighboring communities. And we're looking to hire people. If anybody knows anybody who'd like to join the fire department, please let us know. We'll get them an application and get them in the process. So,
Excellent, yeah, Paul was telling us at planning about all the water you had to haul there at 10 below zero or something it was.
yeah, we had some cold fire calls, so it gotta keep the water moving when it's
Yeah,
cold,
right.
so no shutting it down. So,
Very good.
all right.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Chief.
Professional services.
Nothing new to add.
Very good, thank you. Moving along, item 4A, approval, consideration and approval of minutes from February 4th and February 17th, village board meetings.
I make a motion to dispense with the readings for the 2 months, for the 2 days.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On the February 4th, Michelle had the one correction on page 3,
3.
C. Rings, should be ring.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for February 4th with correction and February 17th as presented.
Do we have to do those as separate motions?
No, the board would have the authority to do
Okay.
both, so, with that,
Then I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, discussion, consideration, and approval of bills from March 4th, 2021 in the amount of $69,155.55.
I make a motion to pay bills in that amount.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6A, discussion, consideration, and possible action on the emergency management plan for the village of Big Bend. An update. Trustee Honeyshaw? Trustee Clark?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, you're putting together.
So, for the department heads, I apologize, I was not here on Monday. I don't know if you were present, Michelle.
Eric and, Don were present, and
Bill
Bill was present on behalf of the fire, and Bill and his son were gonna work on your equipment list.
Okay,
And Eric had already sent it to you, is what I had heard. And then Don was gonna get it to you.
yep. And that's just major equipment, I don't need to know every nut and bolt that you have around. But, just the major stuff, especially what you would use in case of, a catastrophic event, any larger scale event, so,
It is due to you by the end of next week,
okay.
Friday, because our meeting is pushed up because of the holidays, spring break, things like that.
All right. Well, there you go. There's our update. Warren, I need to work with you just to, and Kelly, just to verify that we have the right information on contact numbers. The last piece that we need to start considering, and we'll probably need to put this on the agenda for next month, is we need to appoint a person that would be considered an emergency manager for the village. I don't think that this would be a paid position, but it does not specify anywhere in the regulations if it has to be or not, but it does have to be an appointed person to be able to be the go-to person.
It can be someone who is an employee of the village or usually
So
one of your,
residency is not required or anything
usually
like that?
it's someone on your board or a member of your village staff.
Most of the
Okay.
time, it goes towards either police or fire,
Right.
would be the appropriate staff positions to take a look at.
Okay,
So
we'll discuss all of that and,
I will send you over a little snippet, I'll do a cut and paste so you can see what the regulation is from the state. It's just very simply put, there's not a lot of other description about it.
awesome, thank you.
There we go.
Item 6B, discussion, consideration, and possible action for approval of a purchase of a DPW camera from Celebrations. It should read. Update. We kicked this back to Celebrations last month because they hadn't approved it yet. Eric, at their last meeting, they approved this, correct?
No,
I thought they did.
no, they kicked it back and said, well, I questioned why the Celebrations would pay for a camera on a village entity on a property. And we said at that time, or Celebration did it, said, hey, look, we'd be willing to throw some money at it, but not the whole thing from what I was understood.
Okay.
I think with that, then we need to table this. So my motion is to table.
Okay, we'll hammer this out between Celebrations, Public Works, and Finance. So I have a motion to table?
I'll make a motion to table.
No, I have a motion to table.
Alright,
You second?
I'll second.
Very good. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I have to abstain. Discussion, consideration, and possible action for approval of the 2021 contract with Wisconsin Building Inspections LLP. You have a copy of the contract in your packet. I'm going to kind of bundle this with the next one. The attorney reviewed both of these for our behalf. Any comments on this?
The one provision was added with the planner and the billing frequency, and Mike had suggested changes, and I think I see it incorporated in here, so looks good from our end.
Very good. Thank you.
On this, here, on E, it says the town shall compensate the contractor.
Oh, in the second part, I see the village.
Yeah.
Oh, the second mention there.
So this is from the 1st of March through the 31st of December, 2023.
Yeah.
With that change, I make a motion to approve the 2021 contract with Wisconsin Building Inspections LLP.
And that would truly run to 2023? the end of 2023?
Yeah,
2.5 year contract?
well,
Or
it's
two and
supposed to be
3/4?
retroactive to January 1st.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Maybe I can just add that there is a 60-day termination period with notice from either party.
I read about that.
Which in effect kind of lessens the impact of the length of it.
Sure.
Thank you. And I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? Motion carries. You will have, Mr. Jason change that and I'll sign it up for you. Thank you. Item 6D, discussion, consideration, and possible action for approval of the 2021 contract with Mary Sensky, the village planner. You have the contract in your packet. It has been, as I said, reviewed by the attorney, and the verbiage added was, or verbiage was added for her submitting invoices in a timely fashion.
So, we have not gotten any invoices yet for this year? So now what do you do? Knowing that we're asking for them quarterly,
Well, the quarter ends at the end of the month, so
so how does this, if she hasn't gotten any to us, and we're asking for them at minimum of quarterly, how long does she have after that
She has
month?
to the end of the month to get them to us.
Should we add most on a quarterly basis or a minimum?
I suppose that depends which side of the pie you're looking at.
I think it should be at minimum. I think it should be a minimum. Cause we want them to come in,
We want it more,
More
yeah, if you're
frequently.
talking frequency, it's a minimum.
right, we want it more frequently, so it needs to be at
If you're talking
minimum.
duration,
Right, we want it at minimum.
Yeah. So we find, if it's, or at least, instead of most.
Right. So, is there a penalty if this isn't done? I mean, cause so it's in the contract that it's gonna be done. But if it's not done, then what? Like, I see the whole point about putting it in here, but unless there's a penalty clause or something like that, there still is no driving force to get that done. Cause yeah, it's in the contract, but it doesn't mean that you're gonna do anything if it's not done.
Yeah, what's the penalty if you don't comply?
Right. I guess that's what,
You can cancel a contract. if you want.
And you're not abiding by the contract.
Yeah, it's a breach if she doesn't, but still. My
Yeah.
guess is she'll get her attention here with the language, but,
do we offer to discount invoices by 1%? I just.
I don't know, I don't know.
I don't know what's.
I don't know what the right thing to do is.
Right.
But we need to have the bill so that we can bill our constituents. Because as a constituent, getting a bill, because our planner hasn't gotten us the bill till almost a year later, isn't acceptable.
Correct.
I mean, people forget what they do in January, February, March, by the end of December,
Right.
January, when you get the bills out. But if there's no penalty, is there really like an enforcement?
There's no teeth to the agreement.
Right. You've been quiet, what's your thought?
Well, I'm trying to see if I can reference anything to help us through. not really seeing much effect. I don't know, the way that we do it, if invoices are not received in its time, it can be a penalty of up to a 10% reduction of pay at the, whenever it, from our contractors at the business that I work at on a daily basis. If they don't get it in the certain amount of time that's required by contract, we have reserve the right to take up to a 10% discount off of that invoice.
Our charges just get written off if they're not billed within anywhere from a week to a month. They're just written off and you eat the cost because you didn't bill it. I don't know. I think there needs to be some motivation, a driving
What-
factor for it.
What can we do legally?
If you want to put a, you know, reduction or some sort of penalty in there, then I'd suggest we also specify then if it's to be billed on a quarterly basis, within, you know, 30 days of the end of the quarter, or something very specific, and so it's not just sort of a general.
Should we put in,
understand.
yeah,
Do we have-
invoices not received within 30 days of the end of the quarter will be subject to up to a X percentage discount?
You certainly could do it, I mean, it's a.
Can I interject something?
It's a contract.
Sure.
Having been in business for 31 years, 15% is a get your attention type percentage. I don't think letting that go to the end of the quarter is a good thing. We get too far out there, and then we're not collecting money on time. We're always behind the cart, and we need to be out in front of this and getting money in so that when she does a job in, let's say, August, by the end of August or part of September, that's already being billed out. And 15% it's a, you know, look, if you don't get it done, there's a 15% reduction in billing. If that doesn't get your attention, then I don't think anything will.
$15% sound good to everybody?
It's better than nothing. I'm on board with whatever. There has to be something to
Right.
help move this forward and get us on the right track, because we've tried asking, it hasn't worked. She's a great planner, it's just the billing side of things needs to be tightened up. We've had the promise before. I just think that there needs to be some teeth to it to help motivate this for our benefit, for the constituents, so that they're billed out in
Absolutely.
there. Because a lot can happen in a year. People can pass away, move,
It's irresponsible not to get your bills out in a timely fashion.
correct.
Just as irresponsible it is to not pay them in a timely fashion.
Correct.
It goes both ways.
And we're on the hook either way, whether we get the money back or not. And when we're
Right.
sending a bill out that's over a year old, people may, what am I getting this bill for? So
Okay, so.
I think being able to put something like that in there, I think having a conversation with her to inform her of the reasons behind it, that the goal is that we don't have to execute that piece at all.
Right.
We just want to be able to get the money coming in and going out within the same year that services are being provided. So,
So do we table this for a month until we get the revised contract written up and
I think you need to table it for a month and also have a discussion with, can
I'll talk to
you
her.
have a discussion with her?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ahead of time to let her know that this is coming and
Yep.
see if she has any other
Yeah, it's-
thoughts with the
it's only right.
contract. So, I will make the motion to table and for Warren to have those conversations.
Okay. I'll give her a shout after we get this written up and go over the draft with her.
Just a question on, whether, how was quarterly arrived at? Was that kind of
It
a
was
discussion?
at minimum.
She was
sort of
doing it
discussion.
annually before.
Yeah.
We're trying to reel her in a little. I mean, it should be every 30 days.
I'm trying to think, if we're, like where we bill on the special projects, like on a development or something, we'll try to bill monthly unless they're just, you know, either there's nothing or, you know, quarter of an month, but generally it's a monthly
Mhm.
statement that they fill out. I just didn't know if that was, you know, just,
It was, we had asked that it be billed out more often, but at a minimum of being billed out quarterly, because it was coming in at once a year, at the very end. And then you're sitting there trying to pick
Oh,
through
yeah.
everything. I like the every month.
Right.
I just worry that, I think that you need to get her to every 3 months, like, it's a big stretch to get someone to do something monthly that hasn't done it, but on a yearly basis. Obviously, there's records, so it should be pretty easy to do. But if you guys wanna go more than every 3 months, I would be fine with that. But I need a motion, and then I think it was seconded by discussion. Do I need to redo anything?
I don't think so, we're just motioning to table.
Discussion.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Item tabled.
do you want me to take a stab at the language?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Yeah, you could send a draft out to us and. Thank you. Moving along, item 6F, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding chapter 16 zoning code. You have in your packets the legal size papers, the matrix, which was not included or updated in the last one, now it is. And the 3 8.5 by 11 sheets contain the highlighted but in gray. The planning commission accepted the recommendations from the village board and recommended them back to you. They removed the R4 district, or recommend removal of the R4. They struck it out of the draft. They changed the offsets per the village board's request. They went to 35 feet, with the planning commission being able to permit no less than 20 feet, as you can read in here. On the, what is it, I1, B3, and B. B4? Yes. Just to make sure I have it right.
R4 was removed.
R4 was removed. B3, B4, and industrial, the offset minimum of 20 feet to side and rear lot lines, except when abutting residentially zoned or use properties, was increased to 35 feet.
What do you mean except when abutting residential?
No, it's 20 feet is a standard offset. If business to business, or business to industrial, or industrial to industrial. But when one of those properties, B3, B4I, abuts a residentially zoned or used property, then the offset is 35 feet, but the planning commission can go down to 20 feet as an exception if the proposal meets the criteria stated there.
Basically, if they've been able to take the adverse effects of a business or industrial property but abutting a residential by such things as landscaping, substantial fencing, or otherwise, then it can be reduced back down to 20.
Correct.
That extra 15 feet, 35 is a fairly standard number that we would realize. And that gives an extra space, if you will, for that residence to be able to compensate for the industrial or business property being abutted to them.
So I don't like the ... in these.
Okay, what's the ...
It's in all 3 of them. I don't think it looked professional.
Oh, and similar at the end there, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
so maybe
okay.
just take out the dot, dot, dots then.
leave it comma and similar.
And similar, or landscaping, etc. Dot, dot, dot should not be in a professional document.
I didn't even think about that as I was
Right?
looking at it, you're correct.
That's what absolutely, she's not wrong.
I thought whenever you're saying dot, 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 that it was like something that was being inferred, and it wasn't a physical dot,
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 dot in the document.
Dot, dot, dot times 3.
I'm like,
Dot,
yeah,
dot,
it's
dot.
right there.
With those changes and removing the dot, dot, dots times 3, I will make the motion to approve the chapter 16 zoning.
I will second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Alright,
Aye.
dot, dot, dot.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And I was gonna say, okay, I didn't know if that was just the changes, but you said as amended. I think I would still have a vote to approve of ordinance number such and such.
Right.
Unless.
You want me to read this out?
Well, you don't have to read it, but I think, otherwise the motion should reflect that ordinance was adopted.
Not on the agenda, we'll have to do it next month.
No, it is, because it's approval of the zoning
Yeah.
code.
Oh, all right.
So, I mean, it's how we adapt it, so. I
So
think
with those
it's really-
changes, I also want to make the motion to adapt or adopt ordinance
Yeah.
2021-03.
Very good. I'll second that. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You want me to read this off quick, attorney, just
Sure.
put it on the record?
Sure.
So the public knows ordinance 2021-03, an ordinance to recreate chapter 16 of the municipal code of the Village of Big Bend relating to amending, recreating, and recodifying the zoning code of the Village of Big Bend. The Village Board of the Village of Big Bend do ordain as follows. Section 1, chapter 16 of the municipal code of the Village of Big Bend is amended, recreated, and recodified to read as set forth in the zoning code attached hereto. Section 2, the zoning code is adopted following a public hearing held before the village board on February 4th, 2021, following notice as provided by law and upon the recommendation of the Village Planning Commission. Section 3, all ordinances or parts of ordinances contravening or inconsistent with the provisions of this ordinance are hereby repealed. Section 4, this ordinance shall be in full force and take effect from and after its passage and publication as required by law. Passed and approved this 4th day of March, 2021.
I had a discussion with the clerk on how we don't have to publish 207 pages in the newspaper, so well, we've got a way around that.
All right, item 6G, discussion, consideration, and possible action on the matter of installing a street light at the intersection of Ripple Brook Court and Hanbury Avenue. The Planning Commission discussed this at length on Thursday night, and their recommendation to the village board is to uphold the ordinances we have and require that a street light be put in at the developer's expense. It was part of the developer's agreement. The ordinance was on file, and the planning commission thought it would be a very slippery slope to start accepting some and requiring others.
Do you have the verbiage of the ordinance by chance?
I don't have it with me. I'm sure we could look it up.
Which section question, is it a zoning requirement?
Did you get the email on Friday references to send a letter?
Is that from you?
No, not, at least not that I recall. So.
Okay, because I sent one over to you, because they wanted to get a letter put together to send to him, correct?
Yes, yeah, we wanna send a, well, after board, if the board approves that, right? Thought I had it in the email.
You said Friday?
I sent it over Friday afternoon.
Okay, I do have that.
Village Code Section 14.0911.
Or, did you mention?
14.0911.
I don't have the exact language of it, but I do have the gist in the letters that were sent to Mr. Stiza, if that would suffice, as we're looking up for the rest of it.
No, I have the letters. I just wanted to hear the ordinance again.
I'll have it 1 second here. 14.
Because it had been done so long ago.
0911. The subdivider shall pay to the village of Big Bend the cost to install street lamps of a design subject to the review and recommendation of approval by the village engineer and approval of the village board at each subdivision street which intersects an arterial or collector and at such interior block spacing as may be required by the village board.
As may be required.
That's at the interior.
So it's saying at each,
At each subdivision street which intersects an arterial or collector road.
So that would be outside the subdivision.
Now, the village engineer and the village board can deem that he might need another one in the subdivision somewhere, but that's not what we're talking about. The ordinance states that he has to put one at the arterial road and the subdivision entry. Yes, sir.
I just think that, I'm serious, this needs to be researched because there's documentation that says he doesn't have to. And I have a copy of the builders, or the developer's agreement, and there is no such thing on there. And that was going with emails from here. And I believe this subdivision was created in 2006. The recession came on in 2008, 2009. And I believe at that time, and I know at that time, there were no homes till 2012.
Correct.
Okay. I believe there was some communication between Mr. Stiza and the village board at that time regarding an installation of it. because there was little to no homes there.
Okay,
So, we accepted this subdivision without it being complete, and now we wanna go back after the developer to pay for a slight. Is that right?
we're looking to uphold the village code section, and the letter I have here is dated January 21st of '09,
There's,
telling him that he has to put it in.
there's
Okay,
two
but that
letters.
subdivision didn't even get off the ground till late 2012.
Right, I understand.
So was there a change after that?
That I don't know. I don't have any documentation going
Have we-
forward from there. All I have is what I have.
Have we asked Stiza about the light? And have we asked him if there was anything that Eric is bringing forward? That the village,
He was here at one of the planning
that the
commission
village
meetings.
previously had told him that doesn't have to do it?
I've never seen any documentation to say that. I have seen the two letters that are referenced. One is from 2008 and the other one is from 2009, basically reminding Mr. Stiza and his developers, through his developer's agreement, that he has to install that light. Give suggestions on how to contact We Energies to make it so.
I'm fine if we need to require it. My only ask is that we do our due diligence to make sure that previous boards before us didn't have this other agreement that he didn't have to do this. So my ask would be that we go to Stiza and say, hey, we're going to look at upholding you putting the streetlight in. Is there any documentation that says that you don't have to put it in?
Fair enough.
Versus
If
us
he got a
making
waiver
us-
from the board, I'm fine with that, but that's never been presented to me.
But have we asked?
It's not in any of our paperwork, I would assume, since. we
Through
did
planning
finance
commission,
it.
we asked for a lot of things. And
But I think this was
Right.
brought forward by
No.
word of mouth from a resident. We don't even have a written complaint, because it came to public safety, and was brought forward. Our ask from public safety was to, if it's required by code, then it's a done deal. But now if there's these other things behind it that say that it wasn't required, the vote on Monday night by public safety was that they did not have to have this light from a public safety standpoint for kids to stand at the bus stop. Because there is lighting in the area, and there are also not lights on main connector roads to 164 as well. So the recommendation by public safety was the light isn't required. My ask is that we, as a board, do our due diligence, reach out to Stiza and ask him if he has any of that documentation. If he doesn't, our documentation supports that we've asked for this light, and then we would require the light of him at that time. But if he has documentation post those dated letters from here saying that he doesn't have to have it,
he's gotta have something dated between '09 and this year.
right, then I think you have
Signed
to
by
take
a
it back.
village official saying you don't need this.
Right, if he
Or,
does
you know,
have
at least
that, then
An
I think,
email.
if he does have that, then I think we need to involve Attorney Schober and figure out if we want to uphold our ordinance based on.
But barring that letter, I've already had the attorney review the entire case. Unless we come up
Correct.
with what,
What I'm saying is, if he has that letter, then we need to decide, do we go back on it, or do we honor that letter? So, I think it's a phone call to him to understand if there is a letter, and let him know that we're pursuing this. For him to install a streetlight.
On that same note, there was supposed to be a light installed in Lake Park by the fire hydrant. By the developer, I believe. That has never been done.
was that, ordered by the village board?
I think that was part of the developer's agreement.
Yeah, that was
I can
before I
get-
came on, but I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about, cause there used to be a pigtail sticking out of the ground
Right.
over there.
I cut it off because there wasn't anything inside of it. It was,
So, that's not on the
Right.
agenda.
Right.
Let's stick to the agenda, but Eric, you can definitely investigate that offline. Feel free. But as for this, I make a motion to table until Warren has a conversation with Mr. Siza. You're welcome.
Anybody gonna second?
I'll second that motion.
All right. Any further discussion?
If I could.
Yes, sir.
One possible explanation could be that it was hard to tell the dates of adoption of these sections, but the chapter 14 looks like it was adopted in 2011. So, 2011-05, which we should check out, see if that's why it was adopted, because it's possible the subdivision was approved before the,
Well, the letter I have is dated 2009 and it cites out
And
Right.
that
2008.
ordinance.
it cites out that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I know.
Both letters do.
But
You said you
Yeah.
did, or did Mike have them already? Do you know?
I will look right now.
Either way, there's a letter stating that we want a light there. So unless he can furnish a letter stating that he doesn't have to put one there, then the light can be moved forward and is required.
So can I ask, is it going to be are we put into a penalty box at all if we go ahead and write the demand letter and then he can respond back to that? Instead of going out to ask him prior to us sending him the demand letter to put the light in?
Well, I don't know, Eric sounds pretty confident that there's some correspondence that we have.
I would just say versus sending a demand letter that we do our due diligence.
Why did we not know about this potential of a letter before this? It's been going on for 3 months now, 3 months for a light. And now it could be a prior board has just made some deal to kibosh it and here we are again. It's frustrating.
To say the least.
But that's what I'm saying is that if there is such a letter, we need to take it back to Attorney Schober, and is there anything that we can do about it to withhold our ordinance? And I don't know the answer to that.
Can you do some, you're not in tomorrow, but Monday?
Yeah.
Please, just do a quick search
I
through
won't.
clerk or treasurer emails. Thank you. We've had discussion. We'll call for the vote to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item tabled.
Who's second?
Larry.
Larry.
Thank you.
Item 7, new business. A, review, discussion, and possible recommendation to the village board on the request of property owner / applicant Steven Stiza to develop a 16-lot, single-family residential planned unit development under conditional use grant, for example, Ripplebrook East, and including consideration of the associated preliminary plat. This request pertains to village tax parcel number BBV 211-299-3003, which contains approximately 35.5 acres of vacant land. Such parcel being located adjacent to and south of Henneberry Avenue, just east of and adjacent to the Ripplebrook West subdivision in the village of Big Bend, Wisconsin. The property is zoned R2 residential district. I've got nothing in my packet on this.
I didn't know what you wanted me to put in there.
I don't think planning has recommended this yet.
I thought they pushed it up. No?
I thought that we did push it up.
Yeah.
Alright. As we discussed it, it was basically a revisit of the initial, remember he put it in a few years ago, and it was basically just a revisit of it to firm things up. that all entities
Don't
have
you want me
come
to?
through it.
Yeah.
Without anything in the packet and any paperwork, it's hard to let anybody on the board review anything.
That is true.
I mean, I don't expect anybody here to vote on something you can't see it.
Heck, we don't even know if there's an exclusion for the light out by the road for this one.
Sit down.
Just using that as an example.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we would need a specific motion from plan commission to be
Right.
acting upon.
But we need a specific recommendation. This is just kind of copied from the planning commission agenda.
Yeah, 'cause yeah, it includes recommendations of the village board, which we are.
We don't have the recommendation though, the specific recommendation.
Yeah, this is cut exactly from planning, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
I think so.
I would say that we need to, would we even
So
table that?
planning hasn't.
Yeah, you
saw
can't
this yet?
table it because there's nothing there to do. All we can do is no act on it and ask planning to come back with a
Yeah,
real recommendation.
I believe that's what we need to do.
Yeah, but I would think there'd be more than one potential motion for plan commission, because it includes a preliminary plat that we would be considering, the conditional use, I think, for the planned unit development, so there's probably some specific
Right.
items that have to be addressed by motion or recommendation from plan commission.
I thought that we had that, but it doesn't matter either way, we don't have the stuff in front of us and it's not the appropriate verbiage to have in here for the new business, so. What are the disadvantage?
We don't need a motion to throw it back to planning. We can just,
No, well, not necessarily, I guess there's even some question whether planning did do something or not, and I guess we should see what that might be.
I'll be talking to Mary anyway, so.
Yeah, Mary would know certainly if something was actually done as a recommendation. It's only been a week roughly, what? since-
Right, a week.
Yeah, so it's, maybe it hasn't,
That's the problem with that February meeting.
yeah.
You don't get that extra couple of days to get caught up.
I would think it takes a while for minutes from plan commission too, to even refer back to.
Okay.
So motion or no motion, John?
I'd say it's at the pleasure of the board. I don't think it's necessary, and if it needs something more specific, it has to be in plan commission anyway, because
Right.
we can't act
Right.
unless they have done
Okay.
something.
All right, we'll just kick that back to
Yeah.
planning and bring it back up at the next meeting. Moving along, item 8, correspondence. Nothing. Item 9, public comments. Any public comments? If there are no public comments,
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.